Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name is David Edgar, and I am your host, as always. And I'm joined this week by Linwood Rose himself, making it double Dave. It's Dave Marshall.
How you doing, mate?
Twice as much Dave for their listening pleasure.
What more could they ask for?
Well, I can't think, really. I mean, I genuinely can't. But this is what they've got. And not, I have to say, David, the most exciting game of football that you and I have ever discussed here on the Heart and Hand Network. But we will crack on nonetheless. Coming into the game, we were coming off the match on Thursday, which was a sore one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that the flaws in the side, which we're all aware of, incidentally, I don't think anyone is fooled about. Nobody, I think, has had the blinkers on and pretended that this Rangers team is anything that it isn't. But when you see them kind of ruthlessly exposed, Cammy, of course, did the Heart and Hand Extra show on the game, so I don't want to get into detail. But what I found a little bit depressing and sobering was the gap between the very top players now, Dave, and the kind of players we have and we can attract. And by the way, as was made very apparent last week, it's not just us, incidentally. And my worry has been for a number of years that, you know, we've been trying to keep pace, and in Europe to a certain level, we've been able to do that. In fact, more than match and conquer these sides. But I just kind of thought back to 30 years ago when I was kind of going to the games as a teenager, that the gap between us and, first of all, there wasn't one. But then when the gap emerged in the late 90s, early 2000s, we'd be paying sort of 1 to 5 million for a player. And England, Italy, they started paying, 10 to 15 to 20. And the gap was there, but it felt bridgeable with the right things. Now teams, we are spending 1 to 5 million on a player, and teams are spending 30 to 80 regularly. And I just think that gap is getting bigger. And I don't just mean in terms of finance, I mean what you get for your money.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting point because you talk about what we've done in Europe recently. You were saying there when you were a teenager, I remember being a teenager thinking that I'll never see Rangers in a European final, and since then I've seen it happen twice. So we have punched above our weight quite significantly, particularly in the last 5 years. If you take out that, that one Champions League campaign where we were in, we could have barely handpicked a harder group. So it's been really good. But then Thursday night was a bit of a reality check, where we are now and where we might be in Europe for the foreseeable future. And I think the thing that really frustrated me about Thursday, David, was that I don't think, throughout their team, I wouldn't say they were a great side, but what they had was real quality up front, and that was a difference, and that turned what could have been a tight game, something that we could have maybe nicked something from, got a result from, into a quite comfortable win for them. And that's just where we are. When you've got that quality that's going to make a difference, it's going to hurt you, and it hurt us quite substantially. And I don't really see now how we compete with that. It's going to be the teams like Malmo and the teams of our level that we're going to get the results in Europe. And with the way the format is now, that could translate to going a wee bit further in Europe. Getting it after going through the group, maybe getting another round or two out there. But when you're coming up against teams that have got that quality, it makes a difference. There's not a lot you can do about it, unfortunately.
No, we can. You can make it less easy on them by not giving them the ball. When you're under no pressure.
We can look at ourselves and Thursday, and there's ways we can improve. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. No, you're right, and that's why I'm not saying that it's hopeless. I'm just saying that I worry for the future because I don't really see how the gap gets closed financially because the money is deliberately filtered into 5 leagues by UEFA. That's their plan. And as I say, you get what you pay for, I suppose, is what I'm saying. And all we can do is just trying to find good players at reasonable amounts of money. And and it's doable. Jeffty's a good example. What was it, 400 grand?
Mm-hmm.
And there's clearly a very, very good footballer in there. So that is what we need to do. And we have been very bad at the trading model, the legendary, as John Bennett called it, the mythical trading model. And we've been
Yeah.
very bad at it. So you can improve. But I just think that in terms of actually going into tournaments and saying we can really compete in this, and whether it'll just get to the stage where let's get into Champions League, bank the cash, and then, that which it's, I think, just a bit depressing for football, and unless you're a supporter of a club in one of those 5 countries. But we don't appear to matter to UEFA that much.
No, it's as simple as that. I was pretty much of that opinion when we got to the group stage a couple of years ago. As hard as the tankings were, and it wasn't fun to live through. The most important thing we got out of that was getting the money for getting there. I think it's not, you don't go to football to, I'm really excited about this financial sentiment that comes from this result.
Exactly.
You want to see your team win. You want to see your team win trophies. You want to, you know, when you're in Europe, you want to see us beat these big teams and enjoy the big nights at Ibrox. But there is the logical, sensible side about it, where the reality is that's all about the money for us.
Yeah, which isn't great from a sporting competition point of view, but it's the reality, and you just have to get on with it. And
Yeah.
the reality after that was that we had a game on Sunday night at Ibrox. Didn't like the kick-off time, not going to go. And I think, David, maybe my expectations going in were calibrated, because after the match I said I thought we were fine for an hour, then a bit scrappy, straightforward enough victory. And a few people said to me, "Well, you thought we were fine," and I was, maybe it was my expectations. I don't know why I had some kind of bad vibes going into the ground yesterday. I just thought, oh, I could see he's coming a cropper here today for no reason, by the way, because we're a better side than St Johnstone, and
Mm.
the game should have transpired the way the game transpired. So it was just a strange atmosphere. 8 o'clock kickoff, so difficult to get to. It really was.
Yeah.
And sitting about all day waiting for it to take place was unusual. It just it didn't feel like a normal match. But I will say this for the side: I thought they actually started fairly brightly, and the manager identified that it was that lack of quality in the forward positions that really stopped us going on and winning this game 4 or 5. He said he felt we weren't decisive enough, and I'd have to agree with that.
Which isn't a new issue, or a new concern. Um, I'd probably agree with you. They're saying it was fine. I don't think I would go any higher or any lower there. I don't think at any point during the match we were really in trouble of not getting the result. I thought it was fairly comfortable. I think where the disappointment comes from was I still don't think the quality of football we're playing is entertaining to watch by any stretch of imagination. And of course, on the other side of things, you've got our own expectations, either rightly or wrongly, fairly or unfairly, collaborated by the fact that Celtic played them a couple of weeks ago and took 6 off them. And I think Celtic are a better team than us, but we would be expecting a similar result. And 2-0, it's fine, it's comfortable, but it's not very eye catching.
No, it's not. I think that you see the issues. But one guy who I think we need to talk about and give a bit of praise to, which is odd after he took a lot of criticism for the match on Thursday night, and understandably because he's missed an open goal, and that was Vaslav Cherny.
Hmm.
When he was named in the starting lineup, I think a few were maybe surprised about that. For me, it wasn't, because there's no options. We play with 2 wingers, and we have 2 fit wingers, and then you're into guys. We've got Cherny and McCausland, and then you're into Bajrami. You're into Sterling even, or pushing a fullback up into
Yeah,
the wide position. So I thought, well, he probably has to play. But people in any walk of life, you get blows, you get knocked down, you get a kick. It's how you respond to that. It's how you react to that. And I thought that was an impressive reaction from him last night. Beautiful first goal. Really
yeah.
enjoyed the second one, which we'll come to in a moment. But just the general overall performance wasn't perfect by any means, but the work. There was a guy that was trying that really hard to discover his form, and when it's not there, and it hasn't been there for a few weeks, and your confidence goes, it can get worse. But I thought there was a guy who's gone, no, I'm going to force it. It's going to happen. I'm going to make something happen tonight. And I really liked his attitude.
Yeah, do you know, I was before we were recording, I was listening to his presser last night as well, and I think he was quite forthright and honest about his recent performance. He was saying all the right things. I thought he had a good game last night. I'm still pondering what type of player he is. I'm leaning towards. I think he's a moments and day things kind of player. I don't know if we're going to get 6 and 7 out of 10 performances from every week. But I think he's the kind of player who, no matter how bad a game he's going to have, he's always got that ability to do something like the first goal he scored last night. And with the way the team is at the moment, I think it is important to have that kind of player in there. I don't think we've had enough day things player in the team for quite a few years. So somebody that's able to produce moments like he does, I'm hesitant to take that kind of player out the team because as we've discussed, we do struggle to score goals, and he is somebody who has a goal threat.
Well, exactly. And I'll tell you what, like, his first goal was great, right? The
Mhm.
wee touch inside the player. Then one thing in his mind, and again, this word decisive, and I like that. I think last night was an example. There was far too many times players wanted a touch and allowed a St Johnstone player to get a block
Yeah,
in, or that kind of thing, that extra touch that can be a killer in those situations. With his first goal, there was none of that. It was touch inside. I'm going here. I'm getting a shot away, and then it was obviously a real quality finish. But the thing I really liked about his second goal, Dave, was nice skill before it, but he went on the outside.
yeah,
And I think he'd been a bit predictable. And it's maybe understandable when your confidence is low, you go to your thing, right? I know I can. I'm good at this, so that's my move. I'm going to do it. But of course, he'd become predictable, and
hmm,
defenders were set for him and dealing with it. He goes on the outside last night, which takes a defender out. Takes the finish really early, which is clever. Keeper can't get ready, can't get set for it, and it goes in. And I just thought, yeah, that's but because understandably, if a defender thinks, I know what he does, he's going to step inside and try and get a shot away, so I deal with that. But now you're adding that bit of doubt where you're saying, actually, no, he could go the other way as well. And it just, I think, helps a wee bit more doubt. You sow the seeds in the opposition mind, which gets you that wee split second.
yeah. No, I'd agree with that. Like a player like that, if they're lacking confidence, are going to retreat into themselves. But I think what we seen last night was a player who had confidence, and I think particularly coming off the game on Thursday night, Davey, as we said, he was really really poor. To come out and put that completely out of his mind and go out there and put the performance he did in, playing with confidence, and you could see it, not just how he's playing, but his body language. He just looked like he was up for tonight. That's good to see. He's he is a danger for us. But you're right. If he's only good at that one thing, he will get eventually sussed out. We've seen players like that before come into the team and they look good, but they've only got that one trick. It won't work sustainably. So if he's going to add that to his game, then that will be a big help to us.
Yes, it most certainly is. The rest of the side, I thought, where, as I say, just wanting the extra touch because I thought we were
Yeah.
pretty dominant on the ball, which you'd expect at home at St Johnstone.
Hmm.
And I thought that the midfield was actually moving the ball forward quickly, which is a bugbear of mine. But once we got there, I didn't think we looked sharp. The manager said, he took McCausland off at half time because of that, because a few times he got caught in two minds and ended up not really providing anything. And I think, Dessers has entered a kind of period of after he was on a wee good run, he's on a kind of mini bad one just
Yeah.
now, missing a couple of really good chances. On our front players, I really think now I know we're missing injured players, Danilo, Cortez, Matondo, for example. But if you're going to play this system as 4-2-3-1, I think you're relying on your wide players. They're so important in this system for the creativity, for providing for goals themselves. So it it kind of the machine doesn't work, doesn't function properly without this
Hmm.
vital component. So for me in January, we have got to get in strikers and wingers because at the moment we've got Dessers who blows hot and cold. We've got Igaman, young player making his way in the game. There's clearly talent there, but it's going to take a wee while to to get him fully up to speed and going. And then we don't have any other option. I think we've got to rectify this in January, Dave. Even if it's loans, we've got to get players in that give us options and provide us with something. Because, like I say at the moment, last night we start Cherny and McCausland, and then you think, well, that is it. Otherwise, we're having to move players to play in positions that aren't their natural positions.
Yeah, I remember sitting doing one of these shows in January this year, Davey, and as the window was coming to an end, and saying, I think we need another striker, and bringing in Fabio Silva at the time, like I just didn't see that working. You know, there was a guy who was 21, 22, he's not played a lot of football, and then you're bringing him into this environment where it's high pressure, highly critical, and you're expecting this guy to come in, score the goals, and put the performances in that are going to win us the league. Just didn't see that happening. And then into the summer again, I thought we need to sign a proper striker, and we didn't do it. And I just think that kind of makes the game a bogey before you get started. If you've not got a proper striker that you can rely on consistently to put in the performance you need to score the goals, that you need, and take them consistently, not miss 3-4 chances before he puts away the fifth, then you're making everything else so much harder. The winger situation is really frustrating. Last night we had Jeffrey and Tavernier playing in the wings at one point, which why are we in that situation at this point now where we're playing the two fullbacks on the wing? Surely the way to combat that was to buy wingers, to buy proper wingers. And even with saying like guys like Matundo are out injured now, which is fair enough, but still, I think if we're relying on Rabbi Matundo, that just speaks to the lack of quality throughout the squad, and it's still going to leave us in a similar situation.
Yeah, I totally know where you're coming from. So I do. I think we need to add to it. I also think with Dessers, and look, we've been over it plenty, and we'll
Yeah.
do it again on here about him. I don't think that. Yes, I know, and people are right to say he scores goals, which he does. But in bigger games, as I think we've seen this week, his hold up play isn't enough. He doesn't occupy a defence enough for me in that system. I think you need a striker who's got more of an all round. I think better movement, etc. But also, I think you need competition.
Yeah.
And I'll point to Tom Lawrence recently. I don't think it's coincidence that Nedum Bajrami comes in and Tom Lawrence's form goes up a gear. It's
Hmm.
human nature, right? You can get complacent in a job, any of us can, where you just relax a wee bit because there's no other options. And I think that if you bring in competition for Dessers, and I've also pointed this out, if he didn't have to play every game every minute, and the manager could say, like, you were misfiring on Wednesday, I'm sticking in another. I just think that is a big bonus. And like I say, I would point at Lawrence and say, there's an example of a guy who added that vital extra 10% to his game. And people might say, well, they should do it anyway. It's human nature. It happens. It's a subconscious thing. Whereas if you've got competition every day in training, you're watching the guy and you think, right, well, he's good. I need to step it up a bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, when I was at uni and that, if I got told I had 2 months to do an essay, um, I hated that because I knew I was going to leave it to the last week anyway. That's I needed that motivation of the time is critical, and footballers are that way. After they've got somebody that's going to go for their position, they're going to try hard because their job's at risk here. Danilo's Danilo's frustrating because we all assume there's a player in there. I don't think we've seen enough of him, but again, we can't rely on him to A, be the starter, or B, provide that competition for Dessers because he's always out injured, and that's just not. I said not something we can
Not
rely on.
sustainable.
No,
No.
not sustainable. I just we are we are where we are with the striker situation. I think the problem with Dessers, and where I do feel a bit sympathetic for him, is I think he's just symbolic of the entire team at the moment. I don't think it's any anything controversial to say. I think throughout this team, it's short. This is not a title winning squad, and if I'm offending anyone out there, I'm really sorry, but you've got a lot more confidence in this team than I do, and I think Dessers symbolises that. He does score goals. He will put in good performances, but he is just not the guy that you want to be your number 9 he's not going to be a number 9 title winning Rangers striker, and that's just the reality of it. And it's unfortunate because, as I said, we don't have anyone else in there to push him. We've got Igmani in there. He might turn out to be a good player, but similarly to what I was talking about Silva, he's a young guy, not played a lot of football, certainly not to this level, and it's a lot to put on your shoulders unless you're this world beating generational talent.
In terms of players who have come in and looked good, and I want to start with two who finished the match last night, and that is, first of all, Shefty, and the other one is Casemiro.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's the thing I like about them. I was discussing this with Adam, our podder, at the game last night, and both of us agreed it's the calmness with which they go about their business. There's a confidence there, not an arrogance. They don't take stupid risks. I don't mean that. I just mean everything they have to deal with, they deal with very comfortably. They just mop it up. Casemiro who just gets on with the job, takes the ball off the opposition player, brings it forward, gives it to a midfielder. Going forward at the end there, we were wanting to keep them up the other end of the park. He wins a corner very cleverly, nearly scores a beauty, some technique on the hit, by the way, to take that on the half volley. And just as I say, calm, unruffled. Jeffy, the other side, teams this season, if you watch, early on, they keep trying these diagonals to him because they think, he's a wee guy. And they stop it after about 10 minutes when they go, right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't bother them in the slightest. And it is just that confident, that assuredness that, that's what I do. I'm going to take the ball off him. I've really enjoyed watching both of them so far this season.
No, I totally agree with that. I think they've, had both of them had very, very promising starts. So two signings that you can get excited by, and two that came in and hit the ground running, which has not always been the case for us with signings the last few years. Yeah, I think Jeffy's one is really pleased me because that area has been a real issue for us for a number of years with Barisic and then Ridvan just not being able to keep himself fit. I think now, even when Ridvan comes back and is fully fit again, I think he's got a real task in his hand. I think Jeffy is more than claimed that jersey for himself.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and Casemiro as well. Yeah, he just seems so sure of himself, so astute when he's playing, which is remarkable considering he's not played a lot for us. But yeah, two very promising starts so far.
And on that, James Tavernier was fine last night. I don't want to turn this into a tab bashing thing, but Casemiro is knocking on the door, full stop. It really is. That's every time he's coming on, he's impressing. He's doing really well. He obviously has had the one start at the other wing, and he was totally fine there as well. And the thing with Tav is, as we've always said for years and years, the output at one end makes up for the deficiencies at the other, but we're not getting that output at the other end anymore. I'm not sure he's physically capable of doing it anymore. And as I say, to me, just on a purely take away all the emotion, take away he's the captain, take away all of that, just on a purely football, I think Casemiro is absolutely knocking at the door saying, I'm playing better than him, because he is.
Yeah, on your point there about, Tav physically winning, it's why I don't understand why we're seeing the re-emerging of the argument to push him up into a winger. It's like his legs are gone. How is that going to help him? I don't understand that thinking at all. I think the way Casemiro's playing, the question's going to get asked very quickly. Who starts there? And if it's not already in the manager's mind, I think it should be. The problem with Tav the last few years has been where he's playing well or playing bad, where he want to make the argument, what he does up the park makes up for his deficiencies at the back. There's been nobody really there to replace him when it comes to that. I mean, we had Sterling last year, but Sterling's main duties quickly became in the middle of the park, and I argued a lot last season, if you move him back into the fullback position, you're taking away a lot of what he brings into the team. So I never really seen that as a viable option, and I'm still not convinced that either. But the way Casemiro started, it's going to be a big discussion fairly quickly, I think.
Yeah, I just think it goes on form, as you say, that if there was nobody there, but every time he's getting on, I'm thinking, this boy's a football player.
It's worth trying, is it no?
Well, that's the thing, and who knows, maybe a spell on the sideline might help reinvigorate Tav, who regardless of whether you think it's an age thing or a permanent thing or a too many miles on the legs thing, or just a drop in form, this season has not looked like himself. And I get that you're, maybe thinking, right, well, we'll play him through this. But also there needs to be a reward, I think, Dave, for
Yeah.
players coming in and showing form. Otherwise, if you're Casemiro, just go, it doesn't matter what I do, and you lose heart. I'm not going to get a
Why
start here.
did I come here in the first place?
Why did I come here? I'm not going to play. I'm not going to get the opportunity. And I think that that's a demotivator, and not just for the individual player. I think for the other players who are trying to get into the side, I think it's a demotivational thing. Couple of refereeing things to discuss. Firstly, the penalty we didn't get in the first half for holding in the box. I understand why the ref didn't see it, or maybe missed it or didn't think, because there's a lot going on and everything's flashing about at that. I can't understand why VAR didn't pick us up. To me, that's a still more penalty. We heard about it in England because there was a penalty denied in one of the TV games there, and the reason given was the holding was fleeting. It was Crystal Palace Liverpool, and I thought, well, that's not fleeting. It wasn't fleeting last night. I mean, he had the hood of the shirt for a good few seconds, and it clearly stops him getting towards the ball. It's a foul. You do it anywhere else in the park, it's a foul and a booking.
Yeah, I never understood that one either. It looked to me to be a clear penalty kick. That you're right, you're saying, this word and it's came in the last few weeks about fleeting contact. We're really extending the meaning of fleeting there, that it's doing a lot of heavy lifting, if that's what the officials are going to claim there. I think that's going to be one of the ones when we get our next YouTube review from Willie Collum that I'm expecting to be highlighted as a mistake.
And that is kind of what VAR's there for. And I think you'll find that most Rangers fans are fair. The Hagi red card, which at the time I thought was a yellow, right? Just seeing it live, I thought it was high, but I didn't think there was studs involved. When you see it back, it's a red card. And I don't think I haven't seen any Rangers fan object to that at all, because it's like, yeah, it's a red card. He didn't mean it, but he's caught the ball. It's dangerous. It's right down the ankle. It's a red card. End of story. It's just, do your job properly on both those incidents.
Yeah, no, I thought the Hagi one, after seeing it again, was a red card. I thought it was the right decision. There was no malice, obviously, but there doesn't need to be. It was dangerous and out of control. He's extended his leg, try to get the ball. He's never been a great tackler, Hagi, and he could have, really done the boy a serious injury there, not deliberately, but it doesn't matter. It's dangerous play. It's reckless, out of control, and you can't really argue with that. But yeah, it's, as you were saying there, it's consistency. If you get 1 out of 2 of the big decisions right, it's still not good enough, particularly when you've got this fail-safe now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point. You're sitting looking at it on camera. It's like, well, look, yes, quite clearly that's a penalty kick. On Hagi, returned to the side, got a hell of a reception. I mean, right from the start when his name was read, and then when he came on, when he went to warm up, when he came on the park, got an assist. Lovely pass through to Cherny for the goal, showing you what he can bring. I had also forgotten in his time away about his tackling. He reminds me a bit of something Richard Goff said about Gaza, where he said that Gaza, we would tell him, don't tackle, you can't do it. And he'd go, no, I want to help out. And they're like, yeah, you'll help us by not doing that. And I think Hagi's like that. Just take him aside saying, you're not good at that, don't do it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm a bit worried for Hagi. I think the support need to temper their expectations a little bit. If you think this guy is going to come into the side and be the messiah and solve all our problems, then I don't think that's the case. Hopefully he comes in after his suspension now, which is really frustrating. And if he gets a run of games and gets a bit of form going, he will improve us, because he can do that. He's not going to solve anything, but he could improve us. But yeah, hopefully we don't all expect him to turn things around completely, and then when it doesn't work out, people start getting on his back. He is not going to be the messiah. He's not Obi-Wan. He's not our only hope, but he could improve us in small margins. And at this point where the team is, I think we need to take that as a win if it happens.
Well, here was my point during the whole thing, which is you're paying him anyway, right? And in terms of but you even with it, the bump he was going to get, you are still paying him quite a lot of money. Let's
Yeah.
not forget, right? And my point is, right now we are getting nothing from him. Get him into the side, and they have sorted all the contracts up. But get him into the side and see if you can get something. And last night we got an assist,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something for your money, as opposed to nothing, right? As you say, it's not, we're not going to win the league on the back of that. But if over the next few months he gets a few goals and a few assists, it's still better than getting absolutely nothing out of an asset and watching that asset um, depreciate because he's not playing. Nobody's going to buy him based on what he's doing in the B team. This
Mm-hmm.
just seemed a much more sensible solution to me.
I'd agree. Like whatever the contract situation was beforehand, whatever we were paying him to play friendlies with the B team, that is surely worse than what the alternative was. Again, what's going to happen with Hagi will happen over the coming months. But while he's here and while he's a Rangers player, I'd rather would be trying to utilise him, and if nothing else, get him out there, get him in the shot window, and try and shift him. Because as you say, we're not going to do that when he's playing, Middlesbrough under 18s.
Exactly. So, Dave, we go into the international break. After the last one and that hideous defeat at Parkhead, we've won all our domestic matches, haven't conceded a goal. You'd probably have taken that. The football isn't scintillating. I think it's very fair to say that. But bigger tests to come, but you would probably say, aye, all right, if we'd said that coming in from that international break.
No, I think that's fair, to be honest. I remember the when the last international break came around, I was of the opinion, thank Christ, I'm looking forward to the break. But I don't really feel that way now. I'm kind
No,
of
it's
annoyed.
progress.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm kind of annoyed that I'm not going to see that Rangers aren't playing next weekend. Yeah, it's kind of been a weird spell because it's never really felt convincing at any point. But when you look at it on paper and just look at the numbers, it looks pretty good. Was it like 5 of the last 6 games we've won with clean sheets, picked up maximum points, won all domestic games, got a good result in Europe as well away to Malmo. That all sounds really good on paper, but yeah, just the enthusiasm levels aren't peaking by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I definitely feel more positive than I did last time around.
I think that's the thing. It's when you're on the road to recovery, it is small steps at the
Yeah,
beginning.
you need to take the small wins. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's frustrating though because you don't get there as quickly as you want to be. We'd all like to just skip past this to when we are playing scintillating football and
Yes.
great to watch and all the rest of it. But the reality of the situation is that, and I see if they win all their games 1-0 to the next international break through, I'll be perfectly happy with that as well. We do have some big games coming up. Kilmarnock and Aberdeen away in the next tranche. FCSB at home in the
Mhm.
Europa League. Get victories there, and it does start to change the picture, I think, quite dramatically.
Yeah, I think this next week period is going to tell us a lot about this team and exactly where we are. The manager has been saying, since the start of the season, since pre-season really, that we won't see the best of this team until October, November time. Well, that's us here now. As I say, we've got big games coming up, so it's time to see that and start seeing it in practice.
Yep, I'd agree with that. Right then, folks, that will do us for today on the flagship. We will, of course, be back during the international break. But also, if you want to keep entertained and keep up to date with all the stuff that's happening at Rangers, because lots does every day, it never stops. It's like, what is it? The hours of our life, the days of our lives that never stop. But you can go to patreon.com/hearthand and just $1.99 per month. You'll be able to keep up with up to 5 shows every single day. David, thank you so much for joining me today.
No, pleasure as always, mate.
Thanks to our producers, Mike Lee and Paul Myers. And until we speak again, take care, everyone. Bye bye.